Let's get more on the thoughts of what's at stake for TEPCO shareholders from Curtis Freeze. Curtis is chairman and founder of Prospect Asset Management. Curtis Freeze, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Well, this is going to be a rowdy affair, isn't it?
Yes, I can imagine. It's going to be quite vocal. I can only imagine the frustration these shareholders must be feeling.
Absolutely. So, what do you think is going to be the key demand that shareholders are going to make at this meeting?
Well, I think they want outside influence on TEPCO. They must be very disappointed that there's no outside directors being appointed, no outside auditors, that it's very much business as usual. And if there's, any clear evidence of any company needing outsiders monitoring the situation, TEPCO is it.
So will they demand more information as to how much this is all going to cost, how actually they pay for it as well, and do we have the spin-off of various assets by TEPCO itself in order to fit the bill?
Exactly. I think they're going to expect everything to be sold outside of the core electric power business. And hopefully TEPCO has that plan to present today to the shareholders. So far we haven't seen any details of how that sale is going to take place.
Yeah, and the thing is, who's going to buy them as well? That's the other thing right now. And do you think that this will cause, do you think we're going to get any clarity on this today, though?
Well, I don't think we're going to get any promises, certainly not a timeline. I think they're going to be very vague and say, well, we'll do what's necessary as required in coordination with the government, and of course that the burden is shared with the public through rate hikes going into the future. So my biggest worry is that they'll do as little as possible, expecting the government and rate hikes to bail them out. And then they can go back to business as usual.
Yeah, but isn't it the case that the way that the companies actually handled this crisis has been rather, diffident, to say the least? We just get a drip of information, don't we?
Well, that's right, and which makes you wonder, either they don't know what's going on or they don't like what's going on, and that's why they're not releasing more information.
Curtis, I want to move away from TEPCO for a moment and actually talk to you about strategy. Of course, you're an investor there in Japan. I have a guest later on saying that, Japanese equities are going to actually outperform the rest of the Asian equity market. So what's your view?
Well, I think so. I think Japan is very cash-rich. Both individuals and corporate Japan have more cash than they've ever held before. And it's a matter of when will they get that money to work, how much of it will come into the market. I mean, the best signs of what's to come is M&A is up 80% year-on-year in the first 6 months. That's very encouraging that the Japanese companies want to put it to work. There's not a lot of need for new capex, so in terms of just building new plant and equipment, it's much cheaper to buy existing capex by acquiring other companies. And so what would tempt investors to get involved is the premiums these companies pay doing these M&A transactions. So individual investors will finally come back to the market when they see transactions where there are takeover premiums 20, 30, 40% over the last traded price, and then they'll start to speculate, where's the next one?
All right, very quickly as well, Curtis, what are you buying into right now?
Well, I'm very encouraged with the return of the consumer. I see the retail numbers looking better. Some of these specialty retailers I've been buying, also restaurants that have been flat on their back for a few years. There's finally some signs of life. Consumers are frankly tired of being depressed and they want to get out. And I was out in Shinjuku on Friday. I can tell you it was the most crowded I've ever seen it, which is very encouraging.
Curtis, thank you so much for your time. Curtis Freeze there from Prospect Asset Management.